Guess what? You're watching The Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. Progressive Comedy Tour. Ron Placone and I are coming to the Gulf States, March 10th through the 13th. Lafayette, Louisiana, Oxford, Mississippi, Pensacola, Florida, and the Big Easy, New Orleans. All right? Get your tickets at grahamelwood.com. We want to see you out on the road, guys. When you come to the live shows on the road, tell your friends, bring someone's like, I don't understand politics. Bring them to the show. It's a great night. Ron and I each do 45-minute stand-up sets. You never know who else is going to be there. We invite political organizations to show up. There's a meet and greet afterwards. It's an amazing night of not just a fun show, but also political activism come to it. And also I'm headlining in Chicago, February 21st through March 2nd. All those tour dates are at grahamelwood.com. And also, if you go to Patreon, you get to support the show. And one of the things you get to do is submit articles like Alex Talk. Thank you, Alex Talk, for supporting the show. Every month you submit stuff that, you know, a lot of times I wasn't aware of. And when you guys do that, you're help spreading the word to everybody else. Like this. So we've been talking about Venezuela and what's really going on there, but look at the history that we did. I didn't know about this. In Venezuela, white supremacy is a key driver of the coup, and this is by Greg Palast at truthout.com. So this is amazing to me because there's so much more history to it that we're not aware of here in America because the news doesn't tell us. All we know is Maduro is part of the evil Chavista clan that has been just tormenting its citizens, and thank God America's here to go help them. So we know that's nonsense. We know they have the #1 oil reserves in the world, and when Chavez was elected, he was more of a populist and wanted to give the oil to its citizens and not to American oil companies. And whoa, you can't do that. How dare you take a natural resource that's yours and not give it to the American empire? Wow, we need to really John Bolton our way through that. So let me just go into this. This is a journalist. Guys, let's speak plainly. The picture above is of Venezuela's constituent assembly dominated by the Chavistas. The picture below are the coup makers of the legislature. Spot the difference? I'll show you. These are all people of color, primarily. These are all white people. So I don't know much about Venezuela. But there it is. The white European ruling class doesn't want this to happen. We're going to go into the details here, thanks to Greg Palast. The story of Venezuela in black and white. The story not told in the New York Times or the rest of our establishment media. This year's so-called popular uprising is, at its heart, a furious backlash of the whiter and wealthier Venezuelans against their replacement by the larger mestizo, mixed-race poor. 44% of the population that answered to the 2014 census listed themselves as white. Now we're getting to the heart of it. When that guy Gudero or whatever just stood up and said, I'm the new president. So it's not just oil, obviously, but it's the white ruling class going, no, we can't have the mixed race poor and working class get control. Chavez got control of the country because he resonated with the working class, who's mixed race. See that? Goes back to 2002 when we first tried to have a coup in Venezuela. In my interviews with Chavez for BBC beginning in 2002, he talked with humor about the fury of a white ruling class finding itself displaced by a man who embraced his own indigenous and African heritage. Oh, look at that. The white ruling class can't handle it. George Bush was behind a coup attempt in 2002 to get Chavez out of there. Oh, he's ruling, he's nuts. And if you weren't paying that close attention, it's, oh, he's another nut guy, you know. Another troublemaker. America's got to go take care of business, I guess. He's right in our backyard. That's the other thing, too. To the Trump supporters that want the wall, these caravan hordes of, well, if we didn't go down there and we're economically sanctioning Venezuela, we're creating the problem, and we're backing the so-called anti-Chavista movement, which is just white people with guns. Both sides have guns, apparently. We cause these situations, then just regular citizens are like, we need to leave this awful civil war that the United States is helping push, so we have to leave. So if you really want American border security, don't back a government that is creating refugees. See how that works? It's like if the state of California just went over to, Arizona or Texas and uprooted the government there, and and took away jobs, and there was a civil war in Texas and Arizona, and now those people had to leave, so they're all coming to California, and then California's like, oh, we got to build a wall. See how crazy that is? The CIA's surprisingly honest fact book states social investment in Venezuela during the Chavez administration reduced poverty from nearly 50% in 99 when he was elected to about 27% in 2011, increased school enrollment, substantially decreased infant and child mortality, and improved access to potable water and sanitation through social investment. Look at that. Poverty was at 50%. He almost cut it in half. Social investment? So when they say, oh, socialism never worked in Venezuela, yeah, it did. It worked for the Venezuelans. It didn't work for American oligarchs that run oil companies. See, that's the fine line they forget to tell you on the mainstream media. I'll tell you here. Fox News, I don't think they're going to bring that up. I don't think Rachel Maddow's going to bring that up. I don't think they're going to bring that. I don't Chris Hayes, I don't think they're going to bring that up. So here's what's been going on. But just as Maduro took office, the price of oil began its collapse, and the vast social programs that oil had paid for were now supported by borrowing money. Looks like Venezuela and the whole world could use a Green New Deal. And printing it, causing wild inflation. The economic slide is now made impossibly worse by what the UN reporter for Venezuela compared to medieval sieges. The Trump administration cut off Venezuela from the oil sale proceeds from his biggest customer, the US. So they were paying for social programs with oil because they have the number one oil reserves. When the global oil market has collapsed, part of it is because Saudi Arabia, we're trying to do this to Venezuela because they won't play ball. And then we're cutting off Venezuela from they can't, who are we to say what a sovereign nation gets to do with its profits from a natural resource that it owns? Is China telling us what profits we can make from our lumber and our oil and our wheat in America? Are they doing that? Is Iran telling us what we can and cannot sell? No. And not only that, what's sickening, their oil profits were reducing poverty. Well, let's get rid of their ability to reduce poverty so there's more poverty. So, that's great time for a CIA-backed coup, everybody. Maybe we should, what happens if that happens here? We're facing an economic collapse. It's going to happen. Another recession is going to happen. The 2002 protests. This goes back to the racist. The light-skinned protesters were overwhelmingly wealthy, and they wanted you to know it. Many of the women marched in high heels, the men peacocking in business suits, proudly displayed in the uniforms of their privileged class. The Chavistas wore patriotic yellow, blue, and red t-shirts, sneakers, and jeans. So this white ruling class has been very openly saying we're rich and better. They're the dirty, poor people, the dirty brown hordes. Can you imagine protesting in high heels and business suits? Look at how rich I am. God. In 2002, as today, the massive demonstrations of the whiter Venezuelans were reported as evidence that Chavez was wildly unpopular. Yet, the day after each anti-Chavez march, I would witness and film the pro-Chavez demonstrations that flooded Caracas with an ocean of nearly 500,000 marchers, largely the mestizo poor that received little or no coverage in the U.S. press. So that's just how they do it. So the rich white Venezuelans protest. That's what the United States covers. Here's what they don't cover. This is Abby Martin. The Venezuelans, you're not allowed to see or hear today in Caracas standing against the coup. This is February 2nd. Look at all these people. These are the Chavistas. Oh, weird. So we have to hear about this from Abby Martin that does Empire Files, which is a fantastic show. That's how we have to hear about this, because they're not going to show you this on the corporate media. I'll show it to you here. Abby Martin will show it to you. Jimmy Dore will show it. Kyle Kalinske, people like that. Tim Black, they'll show it to you. But you're not going to see this on NBC or Fox or ABC. No way. You're only going to see the anti-Chavez people. See, it's all up for grabs. They're crazy riots. No, look at this. Oh, look at these. Boy, they look pretty violent. These young women who just want better, they just probably just, remember when all the poverty was being taken care of? They're probably just like that. Why do the poor march for Maduro? Even though the mestizo majority suffers today, they will not turn back to the pre-Chavez days of de facto apartheid. So they know that. They know that Maduro is wanting to continue the Chavez programs, but they know it's being undermined. In 2002, George W. Bush State Department cheerled the coup. The plotters kidnapped Chavez and held him hostage, but the Bush-Carmona coup collapsed when 1 million, mostly mestizo, indigenous, and black Venezuelans flooded the capital and forced the plotters to return their hero. The supposedly unpopular Chavez to Miraflores, the presidential palace, Presidente Carmona had fled. You want to know who's down there? The Grayzone project. I don't know if you follow them. They're on Twitter. They're doing some good reporting. Here's reporting what's going on. The citizens down there are signing an open letter to tell the United States to leave them alone. There's lines around the block. Here's the reporting.
I'm Anya Parampil reporting from Simón de Bolívar Square in Caracas, where thousands of Venezuelans have been waiting in line for hours to sign an open letter to the American public denouncing U.S. intervention and aggression against their country.
Porque se trata de la patria, hay que defender la patria como a toda costa. Este es nuestro país, tenemos que luchar por este país, no nos queda otra.
Mi patrón que no venga para acá.
Que nos ayude más bien,
¿vale? Que no lo queremos. A Trump no lo queremos aquí, ninguno de esos bichos.
Y claro, ellas dicen que nos estamos muriendo de hambre, no, nosotros no nos estamos
peleando.
Que nosotros estamos peleando entre nosotros, no, que digan la verdad de lo que está pasando, ¿verdad? Porque nosotros aquí le elegimos un presidente. No a Guaidó que está por allá, no, aquí elegimos a un presidente. Con voto. ¿Ve? Y lo proclamó el pueblo.
Y por eso estamos aquí, por un idealismo que el finado Chávez nos dio, porque con Chávez estamos hasta la muerte, con Maduro seguimos porque es el hijo de Chávez y él dio su corazón, Chávez por nuestro pueblo. Estamos pasando mal, sí, sí es verdad, pero vamos a sobrellevar eso y Dios nos va a tener que ayudar. Y yo te digo de corazón que todos somos hermanos, independientemente de la patria donde estemos, todos somos iguales.
7, 8, 9, 10 aquí. Lo demás, se me pone aquí lo demás.
Adelante, que viva Chávez, apoyando a mi país. Yo no voy a aceptar que ninguno de esas porquerías venga para acá, no. Nuestro país es soberano. No vamos a aceptar que ni gringo, ni argentino, ni peruano, ni colombiano, ni brasileño, no. Cuando haya los gobiernos progresistas en esos países, okay, volvemos a las relaciones como estaba antes, como hubo con Ecuador con Tratado de Correa.
Bueno, ellos están quedando mentiras porque yo estoy viendo que el pueblo está apoyando a Nicolás Maduro. Veo que la gente está viniendo a su firma. Uno ve que la gente sube a manada, los vecinos lo invitan a uno a firmar. Vamos a firmar. Porque en verdad que, bueno, sí, el país está en crisis. Pero también es por el bloqueo que tienen los otros países hacia el país. Todos los apoyan porque él no está haciendo un buen gobierno porque lo tienen todo bloqueado.
Pedimos a Maduro que baje los precios de la comida porque los están atacando los especuladores.
¿Y qué
estamos con él?
Él se fue hacia abajo, a lo que dice Nicolás Maduro, a las catatumbas del pueblo, a encontrarse con ese pueblo. Ese fue Hugo Chávez. Por eso que la gran mayoría de las personas que están aquí son adultos mayores. Nuestra juventud lamentablemente todavía está alienada, y alienada por los teléfonos. Está sumida en un error que es manipulado, ya lo sabemos, por ese imperio mediático.
Yo estoy aquí por la paz. Yo quiero formar por la paz, porque yo no creo que haya ningún intervencionismo aquí.
No, aquí no nos paga nadie. Aquí no nos paga nadie. Aquí estamos firmes con la revolución. Esta revolución llegó con Chávez y Chávez abrió los ojos de todos esos países del mundo. Por eso es que en esos países mantienen aunque sea una foto de Hugo Chávez, un busto de Hugo Chávez. La memoria de Hugo Chávez está pendiente en los ojos de todo el mundo.
Estamos aquí por voluntad propia, nadie nos está pagando, el presidente hizo el llamado y venimos a defender nuestra patria con paz y felicidad. Te queremos, Maduro. Paz y felicidad.
Nosotros vamos a firmar para eso, para que no venga esa guerra aquí. No queremos guerra, aquí lo que queremos es paz y felicidad y amor. Nosotros somos amigos de todo el mundo. Usted no me conoce a mí, yo no la conozco ni a ustedes, pero le doy cariño, le doy amor.
Nosotros estamos aquí por voluntad propia, por un legado que nos dejó nuestro comandante eterno Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías, y para seguir con esta revolución, que ningún imperio nos las va a quitar, que nos quiten el desbloqueo, para nosotros vivir tranquilos y felices, porque nosotros somos un pueblo de paz. Y la riqueza que tenemos es de nosotros, no es del imperio. Y el único que nos ha ayudado a nosotros se llama Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías y Nicolás Maduro Moro, que es el que le está poniendo el pecho a todo el bloqueo que nos están haciendo para ayudar al pueblo, para que no pase necesidad ni hambre. Y nadie nos está pagando, ni nadie nos está obligando a que nosotros estemos aquí respaldando nuestra revolución y a nuestro camarada Nicolás Maduro Moro. Que tiene que seguir. ¡Que viva Chávez, que viva Nicolás!
Estamos por voluntad propia, nadie nos está pagando. No es como saben que el país está difícil, es por la guerra que nos tiene. Aquí elegimos un presidente con voto, que es Nicolás Maduro. Que cese ya la guerra y la violencia hacia el socialismo, por favor, que queremos paz.
If you listen to the right-wing Venezuelan opposition or Western corporate media, you wouldn't even know these people existed. Well, at the Grayzone, we're going to be speaking to them and breaking the media blockade.
Well, hats off to the Grayzone for doing that work and letting us all know. I'm a dumb American. I didn't know any of that. Thank you, Alex Talk, for giving us this. Watching that, brings tears to my eyes, because it's like, those are people who just, everything they said, don't they sound like American colonialists from 200 years ago when the Brits were telling them look what we're doing. They're like, we elected Maduro with votes. He won the election. I mean, Bernie Sanders lost. They cheated him, but he didn't just stand up and go, I'm the president now. I mean, a lot of us would have liked it, but this guy, no one even knows. Unreal. But thank you, Grayzone, for bringing this to our attention. And thank you, Alex Talk, for giving me this article. And everybody out there, this is what the corporate media is not showing you. They're not going to interview these people. So they're full of shit. That's why you get your news here, because you know they're lying to you. It's so easy to show you how they lie. I don't even want to show you clips of MSNBC, because you know it. Just skim through it. Just skim the headlines. Go to CNN's website, or you'll just see Venezuela, people are murdering it, blah, 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 blah. The white ruling class has lost its power, and so it's employing the American empire And they're going to let America take its oil, and it ain't right. This is, as the guy said, we're a sovereign country. And the other guys, we're socialists. Stop making war against us. We want peace. None of us were paid. Thank you for watching the show. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood so I can keep bringing more stories like this to you, because the corporate media won't.